You don't have any MPP officially elected in Brampton or Mississauga or in that area. So do you think that's why your presence was a little less, or there was any other reason? In the government, so they will be the most heard party.
Yes, of course.
So that's why we heard about Doug Ford only.
But unfortunately, we haven't seen the government get a whole lot done. And so for me as the opposition leader, the NDP leader, I see my job two ways. One is I have to hold the government to account, right? Stand up for people.
Right.
And secondly, here in Brampton, it's really important that you have a voice of the opposition.
Right.
Look, we certainly were disappointed to lose those seats in Brampton in the last election. It's not good for us or I think for Brampton either, because
so Marit, welcome to Harjinder Gill show.
it's so good to be here. I'm just so glad.
Yeah, 𝐒𝐞𝐿 and 𝐓𝐨𝐻𝐿.
Yes.
You want
No, you'll have to tell me.
So 𝐒𝐶𝐿 and 𝐓𝐿 is welcome.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to the
I
show.
really appreciate it. It's great to be here. I like coming to Brampton.
Right.
I'm coming more and more often.
Yeah.
And of course, it couldn't be a more beautiful day.
Actually, that's what we were talking off the air, that we need to see you more.
Yes. Yes.
So in that way, I think that many people are, especially I know when any party is in the government, so they will be the most heard party.
Yes, of course.
So that's why we heard about Doug Ford only.
Sure.
So probably people
And I'm pretty new at this too, right?
Right.
I've only been leader for about a year now.
Right.
But I will say it's interesting as I go around Brampton.
Yeah.
I'm here at least once a month now.
Right.
And when I move around Brampton now, I'm starting to notice that more people recognize me, which is
Yes.
nice.
Yeah.
I think they're seeing me in the news and stuff, which is helpful. But absolutely, it's important that I'm here. I want to be here and listening to people in the community
Right.
About what their experience is, what the issues are they're dealing with, and learn from them, right? And then my job as the opposition leader is to take that back
Right.
To the legislature and fight for the things that people here
Right.
need.
So how satisfied are you with your 1 year term so far?
Yeah. Well, you know what? We've managed to get the government to reverse course on a lot of major policies where we knew that it wasn't really working for the people of Ontario.
Right.
Stuff like the development of the Greenbelt, the selling off of that, the attempt to freeze the wages of the healthcare workers and the education workers and stuff. We've been very successful at getting them to reverse course
Right.
for bad decisions. But unfortunately, we haven't seen the government get a whole lot done. And so for me as the opposition leader, the NDP leader, I see my job two ways. One is I have to hold the government to account, right? Stand
Right.
up for people.
Right.
And secondly, I need to propose some solutions. And so we've been trying to do that, put forward some really practical ideas to make life better for people.
Right.
We're going to keep doing that, but it's important for me to come to Brampton to hear the concerns, but also to learn about what the solutions are.
Right. So do you think when you don't have any seat in Brampton, when you don't have any MPP officially elected in Brampton or Mississauga or in that area, so do you think that's why your presence was a little less, or there was any other reason?
Well, I've been here about once a month for the last year, with a few exceptions. I think in the summer I was in the north a lot more of Ontario. It's a big province.
Right.
But I definitely think that, it's super important. And yes, of course, one of the
Right.
reasons it's really important for me to be here is
But
because
sometimes
we don't
politically,
have them.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes I think politically, some parties or candidates may think because we don't have any official representative in that area, so that's why we are getting less presence of the leader.
Yeah, I think actually I think sometimes it works the opposite way actually, because I'll tell you why. When I've got MPPs in just about every region of this province,
Right.
NDP MPPs. So I know that in some parts of the province, I'm covered.
Got it.
They can represent us.
Right.
But here in Brampton, it's really important that you have a voice of the opposition.
Right.
Look, we certainly were disappointed to lose those seats in Brampton in the last election. It's not good for us or I think, for Brampton either, because you need to have a mix of different perspectives here so that you have somebody who's standing up and pushing the government when the government is taking things for granted. I think Brampton has very specific issues that are unique to Brampton. Healthcare, of course.
Exactly.
But also, I feel like Bramptonians have been left behind in a lot of respects over the years. And so I think it's more important than ever that I am here and that I continue to be here, not just during election time, right? But all the time.
Right. So in terms of your today's announcement that was specifically regarding healthcare, and you made that in Brampton. So can we just know more about that special announcement, and why did you choose Brampton, and why did you choose just a specific area to announce that?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've been trying to draw some attention to over the last while is the shortage of family physicians, of primary care doctors. And that's a problem all across Ontario. 2.3 million Ontarians don't have access to a family doctor. But here in Brampton, it's even worse, right? We know that the number is closer to 1 in 10 Bramptonians who don't have a family physician. And we know that on the track that we're headed right now, by 2026, a quarter of Ontarians won't have a family physician. But again, I wanted to bring it home to Brampton because we know that Brampton's always struggled to get hospitals, right? This has always been on the radar. We're not moving fast enough. By the time we get that, we're going to need another one. We're way behind. But I think that when it comes to primary care, those family doctors, that's where most people get the most of the care they need. If we're not able to treat people that way, then by the time they do get to hospital, their issues are so much more serious and more complex. And we know that our healthcare system is in crisis right now. So I'm pushing the government to do some things really quickly right now to fix this. What I'm actually pushing for is that the government works with the family doctors to take away some of the paperwork that they're doing. They're spending 40% of their time doing paperwork. Family doctors want to see patients. Let's get them doing that.
Right. So, Marit, especially for the Bramptonians, I think this is a big concern because when we talk about the hospital especially, we just have one officially full-fledged hospital, and the Bramptonians think that's the only issue raised when election is coming on. Most of the time, NDP or Liberals or progressive Conservatives, they just raise this issue to cash the vote bank only. It's every time this issue is there, but we are not able to see the solutions. We are not able to see the progress. So do you think something is happening in a positive side so far, or just as people are concerned, you are concerned too?
I will say, and as I travel around and talk to particularly folks in the media, because you've been hearing this issue. This isn't a new issue in Brampton. We've been talking about this for decades. What's frustrating is that despite people fighting for more and for better for Brampton, we still keep running up against roadblocks. You know, building a hospital is not a small thing. But when you're building a hospital as slowly, if it's taking as long as it is right now in Brampton, it means Brampton is being taken for granted. Brampton is the fastest growing city in Canada. The fastest growing city in Canada, one of the top 10 largest cities. Brampton, by the time we finally get another hospital here, we're going to need a third one and a fourth one. So I'm very concerned about it. When I was looking at the budget that the Conservatives put out last week, I always hope I'm going to see something more there. I don't see this moving fast enough. I think we should be talking about the next hospital now.
What would be your plans?
Well, we have to expand hospital access quickly here and infrastructure. But the reason I went today and talked about primary care, which is the family doctors, is because I think that is also a real crisis. If we are not addressing that part as well, we're going to have sicker people spending longer times in the hospitals, and we're already at the breaking point. So we can do more than one thing at a time, though. Can I just say that? It is possible to do more than one thing. We can address the hospital infrastructure. We can address the traffic congestion. We can deal with the cost of living issues. We can deal with housing, and we can also address family doctor shortage in this community.
Do you have anything in your mind where you can praise Ontario government in terms of any kind of the health related facilities where you can praise them?
Yeah, I see certain things in particular hospitals around the province. As I'm traveling around, I'm looking for the good solutions. Who is doing something that's innovative?
Okay.
I see really good examples of public hospitals doing a lot to free up and deal with waiting lists for surgeries in the public healthcare system.
Okay.
The government, in their budget just now, they actually announced some more family health teams.
Okay, so do you
I think
that's a good
good.
thing? Okay.
But I will say, again, I think they're not moving at the pace they need to move. And here's my problem right now is that this government, their budget has the largest deficit in our province's history, $10 billion. I mean, that's massive. We had a $200 million surplus going into this year. Where is this money going?
Right.
I'm concerned that this government has a very fiscally irresponsible approach to governing.
Right.
So we're spending a lot of money, but we're not seeing a lot of benefit for people in their day-to-day lives. So again, my concern is, are we spending the money that we have in a smart way? This is not our money.
Okay.
This is the money of the taxpayers.
Right. So in when we talk about the Canada wide, almost I think we have 40 to 45,000 shortage of doctors, especially to serve the Canadians. What do you think? From where we can get those doctors? Can we just generate that shortage within Canada, or do we need to depend upon different countries to?
Well, we absolutely have to make sure that the foreign trained physicians are getting their credentials faster, and that there's lots of work that's taken a very long time to get to that point. We should be making sure that their experience in other countries is counted here.
Okay.
But
I think there is a challenge between when anybody is coming with the doctor's certification or doctor degree here in Canada. It's very, very tough and kind of it's impossible to meet all the requirements.
Very difficult. There are some steps being taken to make that better. It's taken us a very long time to get here.
Yeah.
But again, one of the top things is we actually have to speed up that process, and we need to get those doctors into place, working with other physicians, getting the experience in Canada sooner. I mean, we can put them to work, frankly, right? Much faster than we're doing now. But you know what? And again, the reason I was pushing today on the paperwork issue is the family doctors that we have in place right now spend 40% of their time, 19 hours a week, doing paperwork.
Right.
So the doctors we already have could also be freed up to see 2 million more patients a year if we were to get rid of that paperwork.
And how about the nurses? Because we are hiring so many nurses, but there is a complaint on the one side that there are so many job agencies and they're exploiting them, and there is a burden on the health system. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, that's a really big, that's a very big and real issue. We are bleeding nurses and also healthcare dollars out of our public hospitals and into private nursing agencies.
Yeah.
A lot of this comes down to the fact that the government a few years ago, around the time of the pandemic, decided to freeze nurses' wages. And we told them at the time, look, this is a bad idea. It's probably against the Constitution. They did it anyways. They fought in court and they lost.
Right.
Now they're having to pay back that money, which is a good thing. But we've already lost a lot of those nurses who felt they weren't paid well enough, who were feeling overstressed, overburdened, overworked. We have a lot of work to do to attract those people back. One of the only ways we're going to do it is if we cap those private nursing agencies so that we can't continue to use them for everything. It costs us as a public system so much more money doing that. It's very inefficient. It's one of the reasons I said I feel like the government is being irresponsible with our public dollars.
Right. So in terms of provincial and federal relations, so what are your plans, and how would you be doing differently whatever Mr. Doug Ford is not able to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think, for example, I was really shocked when I heard that the Ford government was surprised when they heard about the cap on international students. I thought that shouldn't be a surprise. We should be talking to the federal government about this every day. We know what the crisis is. We certainly saw it here in Brampton. So to me, what that says is that they're not working closely enough. They're not talking to each other enough. That's a real problem, because even if you have disagreements with each other, we need to have, strong communication, notwithstanding what the party lines are.
Right. And how do you see your counterpart Jagmeet Singh when he's dealing on a federal level.
Yeah.
So people think that they are married with each other.
Well, I think it's a rare opportunity that we have, right? We don't usually have a situation in Canada where we have a minority government where so actually I think what Jagmeet has done is he's used the power that he has, the leverage to be able to negotiate some really good things for Canadians.
Yeah.
We're going to get free pharmacare from this arrangement. That's historic. That's going to be huge. Generations from now, we're all going to look back and say, wow, like they achieved so much. With not as many seats, they achieved a lot. So I understand that I know that the Justin Trudeau Liberal government is very unpopular right now. Everywhere I go, I hear that. Boy, do I hear that.
Right.
People are not very happy with that government. But I think that Jagmeet has been, a true leader in using the opportunity he has to get some good things for people in this country. Right. He may get criticism for that sometimes, but as politicians, we have to use the moment we're in to be able to get good things for our communities.
So if you were the Premier of Ontario, how would you be dealing differently to deal with the healthcare and especially with the relation between federal and provincial governments?
Well, I mean, the federal government has come through with some healthcare dollars. I mean, we could always use more. But again, I think that from my perspective, we should be making sure that mental health services and things are covered by OHIP.
Right.
We need to really be careful. We're starting to see more and more charges for services in healthcare that are just part of our day-to-day life. Doctors charging additional fees. This is a slippery slope.
Right.
We don't want this in Canada, right? We shouldn't have to pay for healthcare with our credit card. We should pay with our OHIP card. So those are really important principles that we need to stick with.
Okay.
If we are, and I feel like the Ford Conservatives have prioritized giving contracts money to private for-profit healthcare companies at the expense of our public hospitals and operating rooms. I'm really worried about that. And I know at the end of the day, it costs us all more because those profits are going to the shareholders, not to the patients.
Right. So, and also, can we hear something about Highway 413? Because that's a big discussion.
Yeah, for sure.
What's your take on that?
Well, I still believe that the 413, any big infrastructure project like that has to go through the proper processes, right? I mean, that is essential. But I will say, what I've been very focused on is that's a very long-term project.
Okay.
That's going to take, we don't even know how many years, but very long time. And we haven't seen the government talk about what the actual costs are going to look like. That's why we need those assessments. But in the meantime, we could do a lot right now to relieve some of the congestion that so many people are dealing with. We put forward a suggestion a few weeks. We forced the government to vote on this. Yeah. We think that the 407 should be pushed to allow freight trucks to have no tolls on the 407.
Right.
If we did that, we would immediately relieve a lot of the congestion on the 401. This is something simple that the government can do, and they have the ability, the leverage, to be able to tell the company that they need to push to do this. That highway, the 407, is too empty. Right. So I believe let's use what we have right now. Let's not wait 10 or 15 years to get the 413. Let's do something right now to help people get home faster.
Okay, and what's your take on green belt issue? Because Doug Ford was in kind of in hot waters when we talk about the green belt and the 413 together. Yeah. So what's your take on that?
I mean, I think that the green belt was never about building housing. Mr. Ford liked to talk about it that way, but it was only ever about giving a few land speculators some big profits, right? It was about making a lot of money for them. And I think we proved that case.
Right.
I got up every day in the legislature and pushed Mr. Ford on this. And now we have the government. I mean, the conservative government is under criminal investigation by the RCMP over this. I mean, this is a terrible deal. It was always a dirty deal. So I'm very opposed to it. I'm glad we got them to reverse course. It's really important that we maintain some of this farmland for farming, right. for actual farming. So I'm very happy that we were able to reverse course there. And I'm more interested in actually building the affordable housing that we need in this province. I think people need options. They need truly affordable housing options. And unfortunately, the housing starts are going down, not up in this province. We need to do something, and we need to act very quickly.
Right. Anything specific in regards to education sector?
Oh, gosh. Well, I was really disappointed that the government is still not putting in enough funding to help the universities and colleges. It's going to mean, I fear, it's going to mean that a lot of programs get canceled. I really do believe that, university students should have affordable tuition. But if there's no campus to go to, what difference does it make? We have a real crisis coming, and for sure that's going to impact a lot of communities in this province and the hopes of so many students. So that's concerning. In our schools, we are seeing larger class sizes, fewer supports for students that are struggling. I know my kids are now out of high school, but it was a tough time, and I think it's getting much more difficult. And parents who value education, they count on the public education system to support their kids and help them to get through that difficult time. And I think a lot of parents are really concerned. That's what I hear right now, especially in Brampton. Also, not enough schools. So not enough space.
Any specific 1 or 2 points where you think the Ontario government should change those policies or plans immediate basis?
We need to invest properly in our post-secondary colleges and universities.
Okay.
It's really important.
So that will be the priority?
That would be an absolute priority of mine, because you know what? The economic benefit, the spin-off, we get our money back. Secondly, we need to start making sure that we are hiring more educational assistants and more teachers so that we can actually have smaller class sizes in our schools. And then I'm going to make a third point, because I think Brampton is very special this way. Again, fastest growing community in Canada, and we are not building enough schools fast enough. We have to build for the future. We have to invest now, because we know that population is coming, and those kids are going to need a classroom. And it breaks my heart to see so many kids crammed into classrooms or portables. Brampton kids deserve to have a nice classroom with a caring teacher and extra support when they need it.
Okay, so friends, this is Marit Stiles, official opposition leader of Ontario, with us, and we just have 2 more minutes, and we will try to wrap it up. Last but not the least, before we take your closing remarks, what do you have a different in your mind in terms of auto insurance? Because I know this is a big elephant when we talk about political scenarios. So what's your take on that?
I think it's time that the government took on the big auto insurance companies, the insurance companies. And, we've pushed, of course, in the NDP for years now. We've brought forward so many bills asking the government to crack down on postal code discrimination, which, of course, is such an issue in Brampton and the Peel region. Right. But look, they don't go there. They vote it down every time. And what we saw in the budget, they propose a new, options for people who are taking out auto insurance. My fear with this, if they've tried this before, and it actually premiums went up, not down. So I don't know why we're making the same mistake again. The government needs to take on the big auto insurance companies. It's time to do it. They've done it in other provinces. We should not have to be paying the highest premiums in the country. Right. It's outrageous, and we can crack down on that, but we don't have a government. We have a government that is beholden to these insurance companies. They're making everything easier for them.
So what would you ask to the public to do? So what they can do?
I think you need to talk to your MPPs, your members of provincial parliament. They're all conservatives right now. Right. They all need to get a phone call saying, you know what, this is not good enough. It's not good enough. This is not going to, and can I just say the other thing this is doing is it's going to put the risk on the shoulders of the driver, of the consumer. So you're going to have to make a choice. Do I insure myself to this rate level or that level? What if something goes wrong? Right. The whole point is that these big insurance companies are making massive profits. Exactly. Okay. And government can do something. We can pass legislation to ban that kind of postal code discrimination.
So can you also add a little bit about the auto theft as well?
Oh, yes. Well, and I want to say, I know this has been an issue for a long time, and it's getting much more scary here with a certain degree of violence. I know and I really feel for people here, because it's a scary situation. I saw the government mention their helicopters, and I don't know, maybe that's one solution, but I gotta say, I want to see the federal government really crack down on the ports, where these cars are exiting. And we can arrest all these guys, who are doing this, but unless we actually address the problems we have in the courts, they're going to continue to get off. Right. Our courts are overwhelmed. They're backlogged, and that's bad for everybody.
Thank you so much, Marit, for your time. Your closing remarks for 30 seconds only.
Well, Harjinder, it's been great to be on your show. I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to be coming to Brampton every month. I have a whole team that are here based in Brampton.
Okay.
We're going to
looking forward to see all of them.
Look, I'm running to be the premier of this province, and we can't do that without the people of Brampton. And I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Marit. Thank you so much.
ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਹੋਰ ਵੀਡੀਓਜ਼ ਦੇਖਣ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਸਬਸਕ੍ਰਾਈਬ ਕਰੋ ਸਾਡਾ YouTube ਚੈਨਲ G Media Group।